Fantasy Rap
with Austin and Ozzy.
Oh, I just love those boys.
Hey everyone, this is Fantasy Rap, and I'm your host Ozzy.
And I'm your co-host Austin.
You can find us on fantasyrap.com. That is fantasywrap.com. Hey everybody, welcome to week 9. We are going to start the week off with P's Picks. Okay. Hey everybody, we have Sutton today for P's Picks. Hi Sutton.
Hi.
How are ya?
Good.
Good. So did you watch the game last night?
Yeah.
You did? Did you watch the whole thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't start out good.
It was Houston, and it was the New York Jets. And so everyone can see them, I am going to put those out there, and I'm going to let you choose who we're going to talk about tonight. And she chose the New York Jets. Can you say Jets, 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 Jets?
Dress. Dress.
Can you look and say goodbye?
Bye.
And there you have it. Sutton decided that we're going to talk about the Jets, 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 Jets. Mm-hmm. To be honest, that was a really gross first half.
Yeah, we were joking around in the group chat that it was going to end in a
3-0
0-0.
Oh yeah, 0-0 tie because no one could do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, both offenses looked bad.
Mm-hmm.
The defenses played pretty well, although Sauce got sauced a couple times.
Yep.
He's, to think that for him to think that he's the number one DB in all of football, no.
Yeah.
But getting on to the stats, we had Rodgers, who after going like 2 of 10 in the first half, ended up 22 of 32 for 211 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 rush for -1 yard.
Yeah. There's the Perk Rogers is back. So he's getting that feel good stuff at halftime. And
well, I think he went in and didn't he say that he was going to have some of that Fountain of Youth drink, cayenne pepper,
cayenne and water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not quite sure what that is, but he's been in the darkness. I think I heard that like several times. I'm guessing a lot of people wish he'd crawl back under the rock that the darkness from which he came and stay there.
Up until until halftime, I'm sure. I at one point I turned it on my phone. I was trying to get Sutton down for bed last night, and she was being a little feisty about it, and turned it on, and it was a shot of the crowd, and it was 2 people with the paper bags.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
They had the frowny faces painted on them, and So
well, you had Corley dropping the ball before the end zone.
Yeah, it's just you can't. I just like we were talking before. I just don't understand it. Just if you want to do a dance or whatever when you get into the end zone, do that.
Get into the end zone.
I've never understood that. Just drop it,
Right.
As
like you said,
you
go
think
hand it to
you
the
cross the line.
Right.
But yeah.
Hand it to the ref at the back of the end zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, this would have been your first career touchdown. You probably, I would have thought completely differently I still didn't think the Jets were going to win.
Yeah.
Because they looked horrible. But Stroud looked even worse.
Yeah.
So they couldn't, outside of Mixon, they couldn't really do anything. Mm-hmm. So moving on, we had Breece Hall, who had 2 catches on 4 targets for 11 yards, 15 rushes for 74 yards. Not bad.
Not bad, but Breece Hall, we were talking about in the beginning of the season, and like after week 1, he had a huge week 1. That's why you took him. It was CMC, and then it was probably Breece Hall was next. For draft.
Breece or Bijan.
Yep. So if you pick Breece, you haven't been. There's been weeks where he has killed you, but overall, the value has not been
right
what you thought it was going to be.
Right.
Taking him that early, and that could be a correlation with Rodgers. Sucking up until the second half. Recently, and all the dysfunction with them booting Sala out and doing all the other things, and then you bring in Devontae, and so I mean, Brees Hall's he's been okay, but just hasn't been.
Well, and Rodgers gave Devontae a couple of looks too, and I mean, there was some vintage Rodgers Adams.
Yep.
I mean, the touchdown was vintage. A couple of plays, but otherwise, Rodgers didn't look that good.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put that out there. Moving on, we do have Devontae Adams, 7 catches, 11 targets, 91 yards, 1 touchdown. He looked good.
Yeah, well, obviously the first half was bad for everybody all around. Well, Garrett Wilson had a decent first half, I believe. But yeah, we were talking, I had benched Devontae and put in Joe Flacco in the super flex, and up until once Adams started actually doing something, I was like, oh, cool, made the right call.
Yeah.
And then he still ended up with like 22 points in that league.
22.1 it looks like.
So hoping that Flacco can make some magic in Minnesota and outscore him.
Speaking of taking a chance, I benched Stroud in favor of Daniel Jones in our Superflex.
Yeah, Stroud in our Yahoo and our redraft league, the Stroud manager dropped him.
Wow.
Yeah. And that manager has Nico Collins in his IR. Well, not in his IR because he also has CMC. So he's got Nico on his bench who, is coming back shortly here. So,
next week, I heard.
Yeah. So, I mean,
And we were wrong.
That's tough.
We were wrong. CMC will be back. I mean, could be back next week. This is their bye week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had thought that next week was their bye, but this is. So, I mean, Wilson had a good game.
Crazy one. Maybe catch of the year on that one. Well, he had that other one where he was coming across the field and Aaron just kind of flicked it and the defender came, tried to swipe it, and he just stuck the hand out and caught it.
Yeah, but that one back of the end zone.
Yeah,
however,
crazy.
However, what we were talking about, you had a play on the sidelines where a guy's foot, the one was in, the second one hit and followed through and went out of bounds, and they called him out of bounds.
Yep.
But here Wilson is at the back of the end zone, 1 foot in, and then lays the side of that same leg down. So it wasn't a second foot going down.
Yeah.
It was the same foot. Wouldn't have counted.
Yep.
But he laid part of his calf down before the knee touched out of bounds, and that's a catch.
Yeah.
Explain that to me.
Yeah, I really think for touchdowns specifically, the rest of the field, the 2 feet in bounds, drag it, toe tap, whatever, should, that's all fine.
Yeah, but they would call this same thing on the sidelines.
That's true, but
you just have to find some consistency. If it's part of the body, part of that second foot touches, as soon as it touches, it should be a touchdown.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of going with, is that it should be as soon as it hits, no matter what, even if the heel goes down or the heel
toe
hits,
and then the toes go forward.
As soon as it hits,
it's a catch.
Because that's the same, doing the heel is almost, I mean, it's essentially the same as like a toe tap,
Right.
Or if we really
or the toe drag.
Or if we really want to get into
drag,
it,
you're ending up out of bounds.
Exactly.
But
if we really want to
touches.
get into it, George Pickens, that touchdown should have counted where he tapped the same foot twice.
Okay.
I think that should have counted because that's, I mean,
they just have to find a way
to clear it up
right, because right now it's confusing to try and figure out why this works, but that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Why touching the side of your leg before the knee, all connected, touches is inbounds.
If they're going to say that the foot, whether it be the heel toe or toe heel, is all one motion or action, whatever,
then so should be the rest of the
Yeah, if you're sliding and your calf hits and then your knee hits, it's the same thing.
Exactly. That's why I'm so confused by
it. Need to clear. They really, really need to. I feel like this year's been like the worst year for stuff like that, where it's like, what's going on? They have to take forever to review it, and they really need to. Hopefully, I mean, they'll probably wait till the off season, but they should.
And I'm
come
not
up with
against.
something.
I'm not against them calling that a touchdown last night, but then, like I said, as soon as if the 1 foot touches and the heel touches before the toes go out of bounds, that's a catch.
Yeah.
You have to treat them identically.
Yeah.
Because
Screw
it's still the same.
Screw it. Imagine the crazy catches if we just go to college rules and you only need
1 foot.
Imagine the crazy side.
Well, you remember when they used to do you can't be pushed out of bounds.
Oh, yeah.
That was a subject. I mean, you can't say objectively that he would have come in bounds had you not pushed him out.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, why they changed the rule and said now, regardless, you have to come down with the feet in bounds. Yeah. And so, moving on, we've got our picks of the week. At quarterback, they did not choose Bo Nix. I was surprised. Maybe matchup.
Yeah.
So CBS says Hurts, Daniels, Josh Allen, Lamar, Joey Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes is going up against I believe the easiest pass defense.
Yep.
They've given up the most points to quarterbacks. So maybe this is the week he actually scores.
Oh yeah, second week with Hopkins. Kareem Hunt got fully cleared. Today he practiced in full. He was dealing with I believe a hip injury, or he had played through it last week too. So he was most likely going to play again. But yeah, I mean, second week of Mahomes, still got Worthy. Kelsey had a really nice week last week. So maybe maybe the offense is going to start clicking a little bit here. And I mean, they're
playing great defense,
yes,
but
they are. Yeah.
But and defenses can win. But this is Patrick Mahomes. This is the greatest quarterback that's ever lived, or so people have been telling me. Yep. I don't believe it. I didn't believe it back then. But so my choice is going to be Sam Darnold versus Indy. Indy is 22nd, as in one would be the hardest
matchup.
22 is the 22nd toughest matchup. So one of the easier matchups, and it's interesting that offense hasn't seemed to miss much of a beat with Cousins gone.
Yeah, well, I mean, Darnold's playing well. I mean, that's again, don't like to give credit to rival teams, but I mean, they're a well-coached, well-run organization. It's the same when we'll see this week if Willis plays for Green Bay. That's an organization that can take somebody's a competent quarterback. They can put him in there and draw things up and scheme to allow them to play the best football they can, and that's what they've done. And Darnold's looked. I mean, there's been some times he's looked. You're starting to see the old Darnold where he looks bad.
Yeah.
But overall, he looks really good.
Yeah.
So and who I almost picked as my start of the week was on the other side. On the other offense was Joe Flacco, and I mean Minnesota's rush defense is crazy good, but their pass defense is really not. You can throw on Minnesota.
Right.
So Flacco in there. You got Pittman. You got Josh Downs, who's been really really good.
But you didn't pick them. Tell them who you picked.
I know. I picked Caleb Williams. I'm just saying. Building the case for Darnold is that I think this might end up being a
shootout
and a really good offensive game for fantasy. Flacco obviously so much better than Anthony Richardson. At this point,
unless he takes a playoff here and there.
Flacco won't.
Flacco probably won't run.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless he's being chased by.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh wait, Danielle Hunter's not there. So.
Yeah. So like I said, I think both offenses are really gonna are gonna
Agreed.
do well, or at least enough to keep it interesting. So, but yeah, so like I said, I'm going Caleb Williams against Arizona. Good matchup. Again, Kyler and Marvin Harrison clicked last week and had very good games. Yes, again, should be I mean, the Bears defense is good. So we'll see how they do if Kyler and the rest of the Cardinals offense can push, the Bears a little bit, that way. Caleb will have to throw it. I mean, like I said, last week did not look good against Washington, but they were still, it took a Hail Mary at the end for them to lose that game.
Well, now it took a Hail Mary at the end to lose that game, but they were horrible in the first 3 quarters of that game.
That's what I'm saying is they were horrible, but they were still in it somehow because of their defense.
Right.
So, I think you'll have a bounce back. It's a little easier matchup. I mean, like I said, Washington's defense has been playing a much better as of late. So it's a little easier matchup this week. So
moving on to the running backs, we've got Pacheco, McCaffrey. Oh, wait. That was last year. Sorry. Barkley, Henry, Kyron Williams, Bijan, Gibbs, and Alvin Kamara. And I am going to go with Swift from Chicago.
Nice.
And the reason I'm doing that is Arizona's run defense is horrible.
Yep.
29th for points given up to running backs. And I just felt like, I don't think they're necessarily going to pass as much. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that Williams isn't the guy and Swift is.
Yeah. Well, Swift, he catches some passes on the backfield.
And maybe that's what it is.
Yep.
Maybe it's a couple of those, and I mean he's been running the ball pretty well.
Yeah, which I mean, I think it was week 1 he had a good week. Swift did, and then it was the next 4 consecutive weeks was horrible. I mean, people were dropping him.
Yeah.
He was out on waiver wires, and then they were. It was a week where they're like, well, we're going to mix in, Roshan was getting all of the goal line work.
Right.
And then all of a sudden one week, they were like, well, we're going to see what we have in these other guys. And then the next week after that, it was all DeAndre Swift. And since then, he has been playing really well. Again, obviously the Bears, the offense as a whole last week, everybody was really bad in the first 3 quarters. And then, and he ended up having a really good game. So, yeah, I like the pick. He's been, again, last year with, the question was, is he going to be able to be an effective rusher behind the Bears offensive line as opposed to, the great Eagles line that they have.
And stay healthy.
Exactly, that too. So, and he's done both, well, obviously minus the couple weeks where he was horrible.
Right.
But, he's been really good as of late. So I'm going to go Devon Achane against Buffalo. Buffalo does usually beat the crap out of the Dolphins. They just have their number. They're I heard the stat today. They're 11-2 or something like that against Miami. They just, and the big thing is they know they figure out a way to slow down Tyreek Hill, and that's the main thing to do.
Right.
But Achane, I put my notes down here in that last matchup, and obviously this was the game that Tua had the concussion, and then spent the 8 weeks or however long, 6 weeks out, 5 or 6 weeks out, doing that. And Achane actually was the only person on that team to perform, but that's because I swear he had 50 carries that game because they couldn't do anything else. But he had 29 PPR points in the last matchup. So. I just think, now with Tua back, obviously last week Achane had a really, really good week.
Yep.
Mostert scored twice in that game. Battery scored once. But, Mostert is their goal line back, and, that team's so fast, you have to account for Tyreek and Jalen Waddle.
Yep.
And then you got the speedy guy, Achane, coming out of the backfield. It's just, it's pick your poison. Right, kind of thing.
Yep.
And, so I think he's in line for another really good matchup this week.
Agreed. Moving on, we've got our wide receivers. We've got A.J. Brown. We've got Jamar Chase. We've got Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Devontae Smith. They must think that Philly's going to pass the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Especially since Hurts was number 1 on their QBs. So I am going to go with Malik Neighbors versus Washington. 23rd. Washington is 23rd against wide receivers, points allowed. Neighbors, I think Neighbors is obviously their main guy, although, who was it? Slayton? Darius Slayton had quite a few longer catches, but Wan'Dale Robinson pretty much disappeared. So I'm thinking that, Neighbors is going to have another big game
Yeah, well, when you're getting 30 targets a week.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's how many he gets because I'm playing him in one of my leagues or
Yep.
two of my leagues.
Yeah. The only worry I have is that Daniel Jones is horrible when they're home.
Well,
So
I'm playing Daniel Jones in the Superflex, so I need him to throw 4 touchdowns to Neighbors, and I'd be happy.
I think anybody would be happy with that.
Okay, I'll take 2.
Yeah, sounds good. So I didn't even notice when I wrote down mine, but I'm going with the number 1 receiver on the Commanders. I'm
On
going
the
with
flip side.
Yep, Terry McLaurin. Again, I think this game's actually going to be pretty close. I had picked up Washington defense to stream in the Yahoo League. I don't know how I feel about it, but I know Lamar Jackson has been dealing with like a back and leg or something, or shoulder, hip and back injury. He didn't practice the last couple days. So I'm still rolling with Denver's defense this week, just because they're a good defense. So who knows? But
I would be. I mean, while the Giants haven't lit it up, they've been competitive the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and they're the Giants' defense is actually pretty good,
right?
But they're on the field constantly, so they by the fourth quarter they're just gassed, and that's when they give up a lot of the points. So, but Jaden Daniels full clear, good to go this week. No questionable tag coming into the game.
And we know he can throw a ball 65 yards in the air.
We do know that, and and he runs really well, so he's going to open up.
And that was one of the things. I sat there last week watching. Because he's injured, and I think we talked about this. And he ran right away.
Yep.
I mean, there's no fear in him.
No, he's kind of a little bit when he runs like that. I mean, people he's been compared to Lamar, but the no fear running like that while he's banged up reminds me a little bit of like Cam Newton.
Oh yeah,
Cam Newton would just take off, but Cam Newton was also 265, built, so it didn't matter who.
Right. I mean, Daniels looks like this wide receiver.
Yeah, he's pretty. I mean, he's tall, but he's
pretty,
slight. Yeah, he's.
Compared to some of the other guys.
Yep. Yeah. So McLaurin in this matchup. I mean, he's McLaurin. He's probably on a lot of teams. Either your wide receiver 2 or even your flex. Wide receiver. He's been putting up wide receiver 1 numbers.
Yeah.
Him and Jaden are on the same page. They're clicking.
They weren't early, but they have been of late.
Yeah, it took a couple weeks, but So McLaurin's he's the first read, and then it's Zach Ertz is the second one. So,
and Noah Brown can catch him behind the defense. Tight end, we've got Travis Kelce, we've got Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, Pitts, Laporta, and Joku. And I am going to go with Cade Otton against Kansas City, in Kansas City. 30th ranked defense against tight ends.
Really?
And Otton has come on of late. We talked about it. I dropped him early on because he couldn't afford to have 2 tight ends, and now I wish I had kept him. All 2.1 non-PPR points for my Dalton Schultz last night.
Yeah.
Killing me.
That's rough. But, Otton's been really good. Obviously, necessity, losing Mike Evans and then obviously Godwin for the rest of the season. So he's become Baker's favorite target.
Right.
And they do so much out of the backfield with those running backs too that, it's easy for Otton to kind of get lost in the middle, just find a zone and sit and wait for it. So, he's one of those guys that you've kind of been waiting for something like this to happen too. Like he's always been in the fantasy draft, if you don't get one of the top guys, you punt the position, and he's usually one of those names.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I can grab, whoever. I'll grab Cade Otton last round. It's
kind of what I did.
Yeah, you grab him last round, and then it's just it's 3-7 for points, and it's just
maybe PPR. He was 1.
Yeah, he was
1.5.
bad, and then like I said again, out of necessity, but him and Baker seem to really be clicking and in sync. So and they're going to need to put up some points in this game.
Yeah, agreed.
So I'm going. They're going to cut him loose this week. I feel I'm going T.J. Hawkinson against Indiana. stacking with your start of the week. He's has been practicing and everything, and I mean they were waiting. Obviously, they've been winning games and playing well. The last 2 weeks have been a little bit rougher, but obviously you got Justin Jefferson. Aaron Jones, when he's been healthy, has been good for them.
Yep.
Jordan Addison has been up and down, mostly down.
Yeah.
I think Addison's been a little frustrated. I think there's been some stuff on social media if I saw that he's been, voicing some frustrations. But,
Gotcha.
I think Hawkinson, I think they're going to just turn him loose this week. And against Indy, like I said, if Flacco and those guys can put the pressure on the Vikings offense to continue to push the ball downfield and score, I think Hawkinson's going to end up having a really, really nice week this week.
Yeah, very possible. Moving on, we've got our love 'em, flip 'em, leave 'em, and I decided on 3 wide receivers. Pretty much the top 3 wide receivers in football for the remainder of the season. Mm-hmm. We've got Jamar Chase, we've got Justin Jefferson, and we've got CeeDee Lamb. And guessing, based on draft position, it was probably Lamb, Chase, Jefferson. Because I got Jefferson at I want to say 11 or something.
Yeah, Chase and Lamb, depending on the person who drafted them, I was seeing either one of those as them going as the number 1 overall. Little Tyreek mixed in there, in some of the drafts as he was being the first wide receiver off the board. But man,
I had someone question me because I took Justin Jefferson before Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that one's closer this year than it ever has been.
Oh yeah.
But
they were like,
didn't know
right,
sure with Darnold coming
right,
in,
and they were like, I would have gone Amon-Ra, and I'm like, well, we'll see at the end of the year. And Jefferson has been putting up the numbers.
Amon-Ra it hasn't been as noisy, but Amon-Ra's been. I think they're fairly even.
Yeah, unfortunately for Amon-Ra, Detroit has not been passing the ball as much as usual.
It's because the last 2 weeks it's been they get the ball at the 20 and they run it 3 straight times with David Montgomery, and then they bring in Dan Skipper and run it a 4th time. So they've been getting very good field position because of their defense.
Right.
I mean, was it when they beat the Cowboys, or was that last week? Jared Goff only had 80 yards passing. If that.
Yeah, I think it was last week.
Yeah, he had
88 with 3 touchdowns.
Something. Yeah, it was crazy low yardage, and they scored 50-something points.
Right.
Gibbs broke off a 70-yard touchdown. It was just David Montgomery threw one.
But yes. Yeah. Montgomery threw a touchdown. It was one of those. They do it a lot, but it's interesting that touchdown by Montgomery was the other trick play to Laporta.
Yeah.
His only 2 touchdowns have been trick plays. But I sit there and I think, why is it that you're not throwing the ball like you used to? Yeah. But they've got 2 good running backs, and they utilize that, and it's getting them where they need to be.
Really been pushed that hard yet this season,
right?
By an opposing offense. If Love comes out and he's feeling better.
Minnesota. That game was a good game.
Forth, yes. Yeah. So, so maybe 1, but the Lions have just been really good this year.
So I'm going to, I don't like the play of Dak. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to either drop or flip CeeDee Lamb.
They have is the same as last season where it was real shaky to start. CeeDee Lamb was objectively bad for fantasy. So was Dak. After their bye, they came out and they had the easiest schedule for quarterback wide receiver. And
do they have that again this year?
They do.
Yeah.
So I think in the championship weeks it's a little bit tougher, but these next 5 weeks or so is just cake matchups for quarterback receiver. So, and like I said, last year they came out after the bye, easy matchup. Dak and CeeDee Lamb, if you had traded for them or if you had them, they won you a championship.
Yeah.
They were just like CeeDee Lamb was insane the second half of the year. So
Right.
there's a chance that happens again this year, but the Cowboys were also a much better team last year at this point than they are to right now. Because
Right.
last year you still had, granted he was not playing well, but you still had Tony Pollard.
Yep.
They brought Zeke back. It was a much better team. Their defense was a hell of a lot better than it is so far.
Well, there are so many injuries on that
Yes.
defense right
Yeah.
now. So
yeah, I mean, for me, it's tough because do you want to bet on that?
Right.
Whereas for me, like Jefferson can Sam Darnold keep it up?
Right.
Can he continue to play at that level? Granted, we've seen it before where Jefferson's had Nick Mullins and put up monster games.
Right.
He's just so good.
Right. And that's my thought is, of the three of them, I mean, CeeDee Lamb is amazing.
Yeah.
But of the three of them currently in their situations, I think that Justin Jefferson is the best at doing what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So I'm keeping Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
You may not keep Jefferson. I'm going to, I don't know who would bring more value, a Chase or a Lamb.
Yeah, that's tough. Like I said, you can sell the CeeDee Lamb, Dak, like I said, cake schedule coming up, super easy.
Can you
could do it again? I think you could.
Or are you going to say now that Higgins is back that Jamar Chase is going to be amazing?
Well, Higgins is doubtful this week. The dude can't play more than 3 games in a row, which is super frustrating.
It's unfortunate too because he's a good receiver,
and he's going to try and go get paid somewhere else most likely, and he's not going.
Well, he's going to have to sign a 1-year prove it.
Yeah, he's not going to get the contract he wants
Right.
because he's never been able to stay on the field
Right.
for an entire season. So, that one is tough. I think.
I mean, are you keeping Jefferson? You don't have to.
Yeah, I think I would. Like we said, the only concern is can Darnold do it? But then again, like I brought it up, Nick Mullins and Jefferson was putting a monster game. So.
Yeah.
He can get it done regardless. I mean, we've seen, Jamar Chase in games has disappeared with Joe Burrow as the quarterback.
Right.
So, granted, Jamar Chase is very good. Obviously, there's his top 3 guys, but
I wanted to make it difficult.
yeah, I think after, even though it all came in like the fourth quarter, I think after the big spike week for CeeDee Lamb this last week, I think you would, if you flipped him, you would get more value than, maybe not much more, but it would still be more than what you would get for Jamar Chase right now. So, and plus, like I said, with T. Higgins out, the defenses don't, all they got to worry about, I guess, is Mike Gesicki.
Who?
Yeah.
No, I remember Gesicki.
Well, yeah, and, a little bit of hatred in my heart because of Yoshivas last week.
Yeah.
Picked him up because T. Higgins was out, because every time Higgins has been out,
Yoshivas has done
he's
great.
been good, and he got me 0.
Yeah.
So that was fun. So, yeah, I think, love Jefferson. And me, I'm flipping CeeDee and then leaving Jamar Chase.
As hard as that is to say, I mean, yeah, you're never going to be in this position where you've got these 3 guys, obviously.
Yeah.
But
If I had those 3 guys, I'd be rolling out. I'd be rolling out Dalvin Cook as my number 1 running back.
That's probably all you could afford.
Exactly.
I mean, you wouldn't have had anyone left. You would have been going.
If you're lucky, you would have been able to get like Bucky Irving off of waivers in week 2 or something.
No, he was drafted in our league. See, that's where
Yeah, well, that league, yes, but yeah.
You look at a
Yahoo
16-team league. I
get
mean,
him.
that's where you'd never have these 3.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
I mean, all 3 of them. Like I said, I took Jefferson at. I think it was 11 and 11 or 12.
Yep.
And the other 2 were already gone.
For sure.
So you don't even have that opportunity, obviously, unless you're playing against, people who really don't have a concept. And we're a running back heavy league with 2 per
priority there, yeah.
And these 3 were still taken in the top 11 or so.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's unlikely you'd be able to get those guys. So that's all we've got for this week. And Next week we will have our Tuesday show. After that, we're going to have to decide how we're going to do things because, like I said, I'll be in Florida for a week.
Yep.
So hopefully Austin's going to learn how to do some of this. We'll see. We'll see if he takes the time to actually to learn it. Otherwise,
might just be a screen recording of me and Nick FaceTiming each other on my iPhone.
there you go. That I mean, well, you could do it. You could do it and put that on our YouTube, and then just take the audio off of it and post it to the. We can do some pretty amazing things with technology. So otherwise, we will talk to you on Tuesday after all the games are over.
Yep.
Have a great week.
Bye.